The helicopters, I'd not seen them before myself, and I was very happy to say that they were the best thing we could have had, because the worst thing you have as a firefighter, you really never know what's over the other side of the hill. Whereas with the helicopters there, they were our eyes. They could soon tell us by radio as to what was going on, or if we'd hear a report that was threatening other houses, well, the helicopter would just go straight there, and he could dump the load and put the fire not out but suppress it and give us time to get there to look after those properties.
The other thing that I think I could have done better as incident controller was to call in air support earlier. There was a reluctance initially to bring them in because I thought we could manage the incident. However, when the wind came up in the severity that it came up, it was a lot better to have the aircraft working. What we did on the third and fifth day is had the aircraft on the ground from 8 a.m. in the morning. That allowed the IC to go up and have a quick look around to get a picture of what he's facing for the day. But more importantly, it allowed the aircraft to be getting up, doing their role straight away. Air operations and air support play a major role now in any firefighting of this type. They were able to provide asset protection when we weren't able to on the ground, but more importantly, our crews were able to learn valuable lessons about supporting the aerial crews. I guess this is one of the first times a lot of these crews have been exposed to aerial firefighting, and the natural tendency is to stand back and watch it happen. But it wasn't long before we realised this couldn't happen, and it needs to be well supported from the ground. And by the end of day 3 and certainly into day 4 and 5, that was happening very well. A good example of where air support worked well for us was when we were cutting a fire break with 2 dozers. The actual dozers were working from either end of the fire break and joined up in the middle. The problem we had is the wind was about to change and we were running out of time for that fire break. When the wind finally did change, it looked inevitable that this fire was going to jump the break. I spoke to Jeff King about this and what he could do for me, and he quite clearly stated that there's no way he's going to be able to put this fire out. But what he was able to do was slow the fire down to a rate slow enough so the fire spread stopped it going to the fire break prior to the fire break being finished. It worked extremely well.
They're on the ball, they know exactly what they're doing. The sirens will go to let everyone know that they're coming through to drop, and very accurate indeed.
I think one of the real positive learnings was when we actually started working with the aircraft was how the ground crews got in and mopped up after we'd come through and put our loads out, and that made the whole process very effective, and yeah, we managed to pull some fairly hectic fire fronts up. One of the big issues with any of the aircraft, and especially with the rotary, is being able to identify suitable landing areas that are close to the incident where we can go through a refuelling and a briefing process. And with this particular gap fire, we were lucky. We had a good landing area at a football oval that was very close by, and we managed to base all our air operations out of that in the first 2 days. One of the issues that we did have when we first came in on the Thursday was we were actually unclear as to who we were actually reporting to, and due to communications difficulties because of the terrain and that sort of thing, it made it difficult to get a really good picture of exactly what they wanted us to do. Once we were given an area to work, we weren't really given a specific briefing as to who was the sector commander and who we should be reporting to on the ground, because from the aircraft perspective, we report to a sector or divisional commander. One of the really key important things that we need to keep in mind is that with the incident management team, when they develop their incident action plan, it is really important that the aircraft are included within the incident action plan, and the appropriate briefing and mapping sheets that are relevant to the aircraft are actually provided to the air attack supervisor so that we can brief all the air crews. We know exactly what's going on, what radio channels we're supposed to be reporting to, who we're reporting to, and at what intervals. I guess in summary, the overall air operations, I think, proved very successful. We had some very pinpoint drops and operations, and working with the ground crews, it worked effectively, and I think the use of the aircraft really started to highlight just how flexible and capable they are as a firefighting tool.
As an operations officer on one of the days, I think we worked really well interagency-wise. We had people from Brisbane City Council, National Parks and Wildlife Service and the Fire Service, both arms of rural and the urban guys working together. That's the first time we've had that happening for a long time. And for people to be appointed to sectors with someone from outside of their agency being the sector commander was new to a lot of people, but it was taken on very well. One of the things we need to do better is identify that person better in the field so they know who is in charge. Simple things like the field tab over sector commander would easily make that better for the guys to know who is actually in charge out here. One of the things we did really well from the incident management team on the Saturday was engage the community. We had a bit of time up our sleeve to plan this, and we've sent out a lot of our urban crews, our SES people and the police going around door knocking people who back onto an edge of forest that potentially could catch a light on the Saturday, letting them know that we are here. We've got lots of things in place, not to panic, there's no need to evacuate anything like that, we've got the situation under control. And we hadn't done it before. We did a bit of a script up, gave it to people to go out, door knock and read that script to landowners, just so that we could probably rest them a little bit and put them a bit at ease, I think.